So we're coming off the heels of Baptize California, some incredible numbers, 12,000 people baptized. You were the brainchild behind all of this. You've been at the center of it. What was it like for you to not only see the 6,000 baptisms you had at Huntington Beach, but then to hear the number 12,000?
Well, I think Billy, your kind brainchild will be a bit of a leap. I think even old cell phones can get a lot of information if they're connected to the internet, and I think all we have to do is make sure our reception's on hearing God's voice. And I think that what, like Mary said, do whatever He tells you to do. When you do it, special things happen, and I think that's the evidence of what happened this weekend. I was telling some of my friends, I'm like, I think if God could do what He did this weekend through us, I think this is good proof for a lot of atheists that God truly can use anybody. So it was a special weekend. We did see a lot of people, so many cool stories. They're flooding in. We actually have a lunch with our team right now, just a little bit to celebrate all the stories. I've been getting bits and pieces from everybody, from Satanists that came to the beach, that got radically encountered by the love of God, end up getting baptized spontaneously, to one young couple, one couple literally proposing. The guy gets baptized, comes out of the water, has a ring in his pocket, proposes to his wife on the beach, to entire families. I mean, I baptized one family that probably had 17 people between kids, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, everyone getting baptized,
Wow.
crying, hugging. I mean, it felt like a Book of Acts page just got ripped out, and someone made a movie about it in real time, and we were on the set. It's really the feeling of what what it seemed like.
What was the environment like? I know there were upwards to 14,000 people at Huntington Beach. And just so people understand how this worked, there were sites all over California, churches that participated, but the main event, having that many people there on the beach, what was that environment? What did it feel like being there?
Well, it was surreal. There's a level of expectation, and I think the difference. I was even talking to a lot of the artists, the musicians that were there playing, as well as pastors. One of our friends, been a pastor in California. He said he's lived here for 60 years, and he goes, "Mark, I've been in ministry for the last 40, and I've been in California for 60 years. I've never seen anything like this." He starts crying as soon as he got there. He walked around a little bit, comes over to me crying, gives me a big hug. Even the musical artists, they're like, look, usually, you go to a festival, people are in their lounge chairs, you're sipping their Diet Coke, you might get a clap here or there. But he said this crowd, it was like they showed up ready to go after God. And so people were standing longer than an SEC football game. And it was like people just leaning in, from the response. I was able to share the gospel on both days, but Sunday, I mean, there had to be over 1,000 people that stood up on the beach. I had everyone sit down and stand if you want to give your life to Jesus. About 1,000 people stand up simultaneously. And what was so cool is right away I said, hey, in the Bible, maybe not nowadays, but in the Bible, it says they believed and immediately they were baptized. So I did an invitation right then, and I would say 2/3 of that crowd walked to the front or walked to the beach to get baptized. Another cool number from the day was one of the pastors, great pastor Josiah Silva from here in Orange County. He said, Mark, for what it's worth, I baptized, I can't remember what he said, 60, 70 people. He said, I want your team to know. I know it's hard to quantify this because there's so many people baptizing, but I want you to know that our teams asked everybody, have you given your heart to Jesus before we baptized them? And he said, out of my 70 plus baptisms, he said, I would say conservatively 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 4 said, I haven't given my heart to Jesus. I just know I need to get baptized. So he was able to lead them in a prayer, invite Jesus into their life. So I think our marketing really was what we aimed at. We got that we weren't just gathering a bunch of church people. There really was a lot of people that have never been in church, never heard the gospel, that knew that baptism's good and showed up to get baptized. And so it was a wild 48 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to those initial stories you were just sharing. I mean, the one about the Satanist, I can't even imagine. Do you know what drew him to the event? Because you would imagine somebody like that wouldn't be interested in showing up. Do you have any information on what it was that led him there?
I'm going to gather some more today, Billy. Honestly, that was one of the stories because I had just another interview. I was actually on LA Times where they're going to do an article, I think, this week, but I'm actually still gathering info. So literally it happened yesterday. We gave everybody the day off to kind of recover. I didn't feel like myself all day yesterday. We were so tired. We kind of burned the candle both ends. So our whole team, we gave them the morning off this morning. So we're coming in this afternoon. So that's one of the stories. I can give that to you though for sure here in a little bit.
When I look back to last year, Baptize SoCal, but now you have Baptize California. You are looking eventually globally, but you're going to be focusing next year on America. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, our belief was, God told us, if God can do it in Southern California, do you think I can do it in all of California? We said yes. And then I really felt like he was just kind of asked the question, if I could do it in California, do you think I could do it in America? And I'm like, well, I think Texas and Tennessee would probably be a lot easier to, in some ways, get people to work together on something like this than maybe California. So I said, yeah. So that was kind of the origins of, I want you to do this for all of America, Baptize America. So next year, we're going to do a massive marketing campaign for the nation, basically drawing everybody to the website, kind of like a landing page at Baptize America. And then on that page, you'll click on the state that you live in. And then there'll be a map of every participating local church that'll sign up. So I want to encourage everybody watching this. If you want your church to be a part of this, the beautiful thing about this vision that God's given us is it's not about one denomination. It's an interdenominational effort. It's really a great commission mandate that's allowing everybody enough room in our doctrine to go, look, we might not see eye to eye on every single tenet of our faith, but we all do agree that Jesus told us to go into all the world, make disciples of all nations, baptizing them. So that's what we're excited about, is being able to, like we talked about before, Billy, it's about bringing unity. Jesus prayed, Lord, make them one as we are one. And I think that, unity commands God's blessing. That's what Psalms 133 says. So if we're working together as leaders, pastors, shepherds, churches, the people of God, to go, we all agree that water baptism is good. We'll open up our local churches in the morning, and ultimately we'll do both. It's important to note. We want to do both always, because ultimately this is an event put on by the local church for the world to build the kingdom. That's kind of our mandate, is let's galvanize the unity of the local church. So we'll have two expressions. We'll have Sunday morning on Pentecost Sunday, June 8th, that all the local churches will open up their facilities, because there's some people that'll come to church to get baptized that won't show up to a lake or a river or a beach to get baptized. And there's a lot of other people that won't start at church, but they'll come to the beach. They'll come to a state park. We were at this park by the Golden Gate Bridge with dozens of churches that showed up there baptizing at the park. And so there's some people that'll show up to a regional event that might not start at church. So we'll have both on Pentecost Sunday, the right after your last service of the morning time that everyone baptizes in local churches. And then that evening, we'll do regional events all over America. But we already have, we have some denominations, some non-denominational networks with thousands of churches saying, we want to plug this in and encourage everybody in our movement to be a part of this. So I think there's some massive potential to get thousands of churches on board right away.
Well, I have to tell you, and we did another interview where you told the story of God sort of giving you the vision for this. You followed that vision with Baptize SoCal. You did it again, obviously carrying it on with Baptize California. Now, next year, Baptize America. There's a lot to look forward to, and I'm looking forward to being able to sit down with you two and talk about more of these stories. You're talking about 12,000 lives that have been impacted and changed, and many more lives outside of that, the families, the children, the uncles, the aunts, the kids of these people. Any final words just to maybe leave people with something, maybe a lesson that you've taken away just from your experience over the past couple of days?
Well, I think that going through this, seeing the tears, seeing the families come together, I think that it's just a good reminder that we can't quantify how efforts like these, monetary value can't really put a number on lives being changed. I told our church is going to cost somewhere between $30 and $60 per baptism, and our church rallied behind that. And our church carried a lot of the weight of this. Ended up being a seven-figure deal to get this done, and our church carried that. And so I think for me, you can't put an amount of monetary money on one life, one family, one marriage, one household being changed. So I would invite everybody to sign up, because I'm telling you, there was so much joy on that beach. It was the most joy-filled place I've ever been in my entire life. And so I would encourage you to sign up, be a part of it. Baptize America, baptizecalifornia.com. And if you believe in this vision that's happening and you want to see it in your state, you want to see it in your part of the country, I'd enlist you to sow a seed into it at baptizeamerica.com. We'd greatly appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time and all the work you've done on this. We will be talking again very soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Billy. We love you guys.